Welcome to another ANSI Academy webinar. Today's webinar is going to be Basic Hardware Securing the Door. My name is Russell Corriveau and I will be your lead instructor today. This session will last about 45 minutes. During this session, your lines will be muted, but you can use the question and answer icon at the bottom of the page to submit questions as we go along. We will reserve time at the end for your questions. This session is being recorded and will be available for viewing within 24 hours. Also within 24 hours, you will receive an email showing proof that you attended the webinar. And this can be submitted to your employer or one of the industry association partners such as DHI or ALOA for industry CEU credits in lieu of a certificate of completion for these short trainings. In addition, ANSI Academy has over 50 online courses available at no cost. So today we're going to look at basic hardware and securing the door. DHI, which is the Door and Hardware Institute, recommends a standard sequence in listing hardware for an opening and how it should be installed on the door. This is called the hardware schedule. The way that the hardware should be installed and the way it's listed on the sequence sheet is you hang the door, you secure the door, control the door, and then finally protect the door. So here's a sequence sheet. In this sequence sheet here, we're going to be installing the hardware on a 3 foot by 7 foot 2 opening, 1 3/4 inches thick. It's going to be a hollow metal door by a hollow metal frame. And we're going to be hanging the door with McKinney hinges. We're going to be securing the door with a rim exit device. We're going to be controlling the door with a door closer. And we're going to be protecting the door with a threshold, weather stripping, and weather brushes. So today we're going to look at securing the opening, and we're going to look at a few different applications. Okay, the first application we're going to take a look at is going to be a staff room restroom. So this is a single stall bathroom. Obviously they have a mortise lock installed in it right now. You can see it has an ADA thumb turn on the inside. And since it is a bathroom, they're going to use a particular function for this. So things we need to consider. Okay, because it is a bathroom, bathrooms always have emergency releases on the outside. It is going to be self-latching. And it is going to be a privacy function, also known as a bathroom function. That is the standard function for a single stall bathroom. And it does have the emergency release on the outside. And in this case here, they're going to be using an ADA thumb turn. So first, we're going to look at different possibilities. First, we'll consider cylindrical locks or board locks, also known as cylindrical locks. If you're not aware of it, the bevel on 90% of the doors out there, 90% of the doors out there have a bevel on them. The bevel is a 2-inch drop. Over a 2-inch door, it's an 1/8 of an inch drop. That is the standard bevel, and 90% of the doors have a bevel out there. With a bevel, you have what you consider the high side, and you have what you consider the low side. The low side, or the low edge, is going to rest against the silencers, and the high edge is going to create the gap between the door and the frame. And part of the reason why I'm mentioning this is a typical template. If you take a quick look at this template sideways, right here, it makes reference to the low side of the door. And oftentimes, templates will make reference to a high side or a low side of the door when positioning a template on the door, because the bevel definitely needs to be taken into consideration when installing the hardware on the door. A common term we use when it comes to cylindrical locks and most locks is the term backset. Backset is the center line of the door to the center line of the 2 1/8 inch bore hole. Usually it's the center line of the cylinder and of the spindles. When it comes to board locks, the standard commercial backset in this industry is 2 3/4 inches. That's standard across the board. Residential doors normally have a 2 3/8 inch backset. And oftentimes you have other options such as a 3 3/4 inch backset or a 5-inch backset. Those are the most common out there. The next thing you need to consider is the door prep. The standard door prep for a board-in or cylindrical lock is a 161 door prep. Okay. The standard door prep for a residential door is called a 160 door prep. Keep in mind, the type of door prep, either a 160 or 161, have nothing to do with the door thickness. All it has to do with is the prep in the door. So it's irrelevant of the door thickness. And the only difference between these two preps is the backset. For a commercial backset, the backset is 2 3/4 inches, while a residential backset is 2 3/8 most of the time. And the only other variation is the width of the strike front. For commercial, it's 1 1/8. For residential, it's normally 1 inch. But those are the two basic preps for cylindrical locks or board locks. So you're probably asking yourself, what does it take to install a cylindrical lock? It's actually pretty simple. You start by installing the latch. You secure the latch with a couple of screws. Next, you're going to slide the lock body through the door. You're going to make sure you slide it through completely. And when you slide it through completely, you always want to look from the other side of the door, because there's a couple points that are very, very important that you engage. And this is pretty simple. And these are the points here. So let's take a closer look at it. And right here, there are 4 different contact points to make sure that the latch bolt engages the lock body correctly. That is the most difficult step of installing a cylindrical lock. So cylindrical locks are quite easy to install. Once you've done that, you have the inside spring cartridge, and then you have a couple through bolt screws, a rose, followed by a lever handle. And that's it. Pretty simple to install. Talking about cylindrical locks a little bit more, here we're showing you the auxiliary dead latch. The auxiliary dead latch is a plunger, and when it's held in by the strike, when the door is in the closed position, it automatically locks the projected latch bolt in from against being pushed in at the end. So when this little half moon here, this small area here, is held in by the strike, the latch bolt cannot be pushed in. Okay. This type of latch bolt is called a self-latching latch bolt because it has an angle on it and it allows the door to close and latch automatically. Part of the reason why I brought up the auxiliary dead latching is because that's critical when it comes to board locks. There's a term out there called lloyding, and that means to insert a shim between the door and the frame to attempt to push back the latch bolt. Okay? Normally it's called carding a door, and it's as simple as putting a credit card between the door and the frame. Keep in mind, if you have a dead latch in it, this will not work. This only works on non-guarded latch bolts, or if you have too big of a gap between the door and the frame. Next is a little video from a hotel I stayed in. In this hotel, I noticed there was a big gap between the door and the frame, so I was wondering if the guarding would actually work. Right now, the door is in the locked position, and I did take my room key and I slid it in there, and because there was a large gap, the guarding mechanism was no longer functioning, so I was able just to push the latch bolt back. That's why it's very, very important that the guarding mechanism is caught by the strike and is held in by the strike. If it falls into the strike hole, it no longer functions, and you can easily card a door just as we showed you here. The function we were looking at on that bathroom we initially looked at was, on the original door we looked at, it was a bathroom function that we had on it. So we're going to take a quick look at what a bathroom function is and how it works. First off, one thing I want to point out to you is when it comes to functions, there's an BHA number that's used on the functions. In this case here, a bathroom privacy or bath lock is an F76A. These function numbers are used throughout the industry by all different manufacturers, but each manufacturer will have their own function designation. So for example, this is from a Sargent catalog. This is an 05 function from Sargent, and it has an ANSI function number of 04. Next, this is a Schlage catalog, and this is their office or inner entry lock. And their designation is an L9050. But notice it's an F04 also. Because they're both F04s, that means they will operate exactly the same way. Another example, here's a Corbin-Russwin cylindrical lock. This also is an F04, but for Corbin-Russwin, it's designated as an 2054. And one more example, even Yale. So most manufacturers use these BHMA numbers. These are great for cross-referencing because if you had to read each of these individual descriptions and determine if each of them will operate the same way, it could be very, very difficult. That's why it's very important to use ANSI BHMA numbers when cross-referencing between various manufacturers. So how does a privacy function work? So in a privacy function, right now it's completely unlocked. Both levers will retract the latch bolt without any problem. So it's completely unlocked now, anyone can walk in. Once someone walks in and they push in on the push button on the inside, it locks the outside lever handle. When the inside lever handle is rotated, it unlocks the outside lever handle. Once again, when it's locked from the inside, the outside is locked. Rotating up or down will unlock the outside lever handle. Once again, we're locking it from the inside. Next, what we're showing you is when you push in on the latch bolt or if the door closes, it will automatically unlock the outside lever handle. Therefore, someone cannot lock the door and close the door behind them. And lastly, you have an emergency release on there, which will also unlock the outside lever handle in an emergency. That is a privacy function. There are three very, very popular functions out there. The three most popular functions are an office function, a storeroom function, and a classroom function. So I thought it would be good just to run through how each of those work. Okay? So the first one we're looking at is an office function. Right now, the lock is completely unlocked. With this office function, on the inside, it has a push or push and turn locking mechanism. So right now, it was pushed straight in. When it's pushed straight in, rotating the inside handle unlocks the outside lever handle. Okay? When you push it in, and it locks the outside lever handle. By rotating the handle either way, it will unlock the outside lever handle on the inside. So when you push it in and rotate it, now it keeps it locked. So when you rotate the inside lever handle, it will no longer unlock the outside lever handle. It remains locked. So the outside lever remains locked. The only way you can get in from the outside is by using the key on the outside to retract the latch bolt. That's the only way to gain entrance. And at this point, the only way to unlock this lock completely is with the thumb turn on the inside. So you need to push and rotate it to unlock it completely. Now it's completely unlocked. And that's an office function. The next most popular function is a classroom function. Really quick on this one. This is a single cylinder function on the outside only. The inside always allows free egress, just like the office function did. On this one here, the only way you can lock this door is by inserting the key in the outside lever handle and rotating it. By rotating it, it locks the outside lever handle. The inside always allows free egress. And the only way to unlock it is by using the key to unlock the outside lever handle. That is a classroom function. And one last function to look at is a storeroom function. And this is an F86. With an F86, once again, this is a single cylinder function, but with this one here, the outside lever is always locked. So right now, the outside lever is always locked. The inside will always allow you to egress. The only thing the key does on the outside lever is to retract the latch bolt. And that would be a storeroom function. That keeps the door locked at all times, and the only way you can enter is with the key in the cylinder rotated. So next, let's take a quick look at some mortise locks. You do have a couple advantages with mortise locks over cylindrical locks. First off, both of them do have latch bolts, but with mortise locks, you have the option of having a latch bolt and a deadbolt. With mortise locks, obviously it would use a different prep. It uses what we call an 86 prep. This is the standard prep for a mortise lock. On the far right-hand side of the page, I just drew a red line, and this is the center line of the lock body. And what I always found interesting about the 86 mortise prep is that the center line of the strike is 3/8 of an inch off from the center line of the lock body. So don't ever, since you're new in the industry, don't ever let that confuse you. The center line of the strike is not on the center line of the lock body when it comes to an 86 prep. As I just mentioned, an 86 prep is making reference only to the mortise pocket on the side of the door. The 86 prep, even though right at the moment now it's showing holes on the outside of the door, an 86 prep does not include holes on the outside of the door. So the 86 prep does not include any holes on the outside of the door. The doors will usually have to be prepped in the field, or you're going to have the door manufacturer prep the door for a particular manufacturer's lock. There is not a standard door prep for a mortise lock, because the face holes vary based on each manufacturer. And with a mortise lock, it's slid into the pocket of the door. So really quick, how to install one of these? It's a little bit more complicated. So with this one here, once you slide the mortise lock into the pocket, you secure it on the edge of the door with a couple screws. Next, you want to install the cylinder, and there's a cylinder collar for that, followed by the through bolts, which is going to hold the lever handle on. And that is through bolted through the door for extra security. Once you've done that, you want to secure the lock body down completely. And now you're going to put on the outside rows, followed by the outside lever. And then you have the inside lever, which is held on with a set screw. And then finally put the outside front on. And that's how you install a mortise lock. The standard back set for a mortise lock is the same as a cylindrical lock. It's 2 3/4 inches is the standard back set. And when it comes to ANSI BHMA mortise locks, there is only one back set, and that's 2 3/4 inches. There is not a variety of back sets available. I'm not saying that they cannot be made special, but there is not a standard set of back sets. 2 3/4 inches is the standard back sets for mortise locks sold in the United States. Okay, once again, you do have the auxiliary dead latch. Once again, the auxiliary dead latch is going to be held in by the strike, so you can't push in on the latch bolt. That is the auxiliary dead latch. Next, we have a deadbolt. The deadbolt is projected by either a thumb turn or the key, and is retracted by the inside lever, the key, or the thumb turn. Okay, so this is not self-latching. Deadbolts are not self-latching. And finally, the latch bolt. The latch bolts are self-latching because of the angle on them, so they do not need to be manually projected or retracted. They do need to be manually retracted to open up the door, but they do not need to be retracted to close the door. They automatically retract because they're self-latching. Okay, and keep in mind, there are a lot of different types of latch bolts out there. I don't want you to think they all look the same. So here I'm showing you, this is a Sargent latch bolt. This is a Schlage latch bolt. They use a 2-piece design. This is a Best latch bolt. So they do vary. And since we were just talking about functions, let's talk about functions for mortise lock. The same functions exist, but they use different ANSI BHMA numbers. So a bathroom function, a bathroom or a privacy function is an F22. This one here showing is just available with just a latch bolt. So once again, it does have an emergency release on the outside, and the outside lever is locked or unlocked by either the emergency release, rotating the inside lever, pushing in on the latch bolt, or using the thumb turn. But rotating the inside lever will retract and unlock the outside lever handle. The next type of privacy function that's available is one with a deadbolt. The latch bolt is operated by either lever. The deadbolt is operated by turn from the inside or emergency release from the outside. Operating the inside lever will retract both the latch bolt and deadbolt. And this is an F19, so there are different types of bathroom locks available. One last type of bathroom lock I want you to be aware of is this one here. With this one here, the trim from either side retracts the latch bolt. The thumb turn retracts and projects the deadbolt, and the emergency also retracts and projects the deadbolt. The important thing to notice on this one is that the latch bolt and deadbolt are independent of each other. So therefore, to exit this room, it takes 2 motions to get out. You would have to throw the deadbolt and then rotate the lever handle. This type of door could not be used in a means of egress. Okay, but this takes 2 motions to unlock it. So just realize there are different types of bathroom functions. And the emergency release is what we were just talking about. An emergency release is a component that's used on privacy, bedroom, and bath locks that will either use an emergency key, a coin, or a screwdriver to lock or unlock the outside lever handle. So that's called an emergency release. With mortise locks, once again, you do have a mortise lock front, and this is what we're showing you right here is the mortise lock front. And when it comes to strikes for mortise locks, there are a variety of different strikes. I'm showing you a few of the different strikes right here. The first one I'm showing you on the far left is one without the frame. In the center is a mortise strike installed into the frame. And I apologize, these are strikes I'm talking about. And there are different types of strikes. Okay. Oftentimes behind a strike, you have construction work back there. And usually doors will come with a box built into the frame already to hide any construction work. But if not, you can order what we call a strike box to be put behind the strike to cover up any construction work. And what I'm referring to there is that without a box behind the strike, this is what you see when you look into the strike hole, and that does not look very professional at all. So either that would be filled by a strike box that can be purchased with the mortise lock, or it will come with the frame as part of the frame. Next, we have a thumb turn. The thumb turn is what's used to retract and project the deadbolt. Oftentimes, it's also used to retract and project, to lock and unlock the outside lever handle if there is no deadbolt. So this was the staff bathroom we originally looked at. And as we looked at it and what we considered different things, this is going to use a privacy mortise function with an indicator. So that's what they ended up using, is a privacy mortise function lock. The next product we're going to consider is a stairwell door. So this is a stairwell door. So with this locking options, we can either consider exit devices, board locks, or mortise locks. A couple things to consider here is that because it's in a stairwell, it's a fire-rated door. Plus, you can see the label on the side of the door, so you know it's a fire-rated door. Fire-rated doors have to be self-closing, and they have to be self-latching. So you need to use a lock that's self-closing and self-latching. And if you didn't notice to start with, the way she entered the door from the stairwell side is she used a card and a card reader. So this is an electrified device. So we're going to need an electrified lock for this door here. So we need electrified lock. And this will have to be hooked up to the alarm system. So let's first take a look at exit devices. The different components on an exit device. First, you have the chassis head, or the center case chassis. The terms are all used interchangeably by various manufacturers. Next, we have the mounting rail. This is what rests against the door. Next, we have the end cap. We have the insert, which is where oftentimes a lot of the electrical components are located underneath the insert. Then we have the push rail, the crash bar, or the actuation bar. This is what you push on to exit a door with an exit device. And lastly, you have a latch bolt. And in some cases, you will have an auxiliary latch or an auxiliary guard bolt. Once again, in this case here, this is going to be held in by the strike, so the latch bolt cannot be pushed in. Okay, according to NFP 80, only fire hardware can be installed on fire doors. Okay, you will find that different labels on exit devices. The label on the upper right-hand side is a panic label from a Corbin Russwin exit device. The label right beneath that one is a fire exit hardware label for a fire exit device. You're going to find fire exit hardware is going to only be installed on doors that have a label similar to this. And what the label says is that fire exit hardware can only be installed on doors bearing a label stating door to be equipped with fire exit hardware. If the door does not have this label on it, you cannot install fire rated hardware on this door. Okay? As I just mentioned, there are different types of labels, and just so you know, they have to appear differently. Keep in mind that all fire exit hardware meets all panic requirements, but panic hardware does not meet fire requirements. Okay? So the labels do look different, and exit device will either have a fire exit hardware label or a panic hardware label. One thing to keep in mind with fire-rated hardware, it can never be mechanically dogged. So you cannot use hex key dogging or cylinder dogging with a fire-rated exit device. When it comes to exit devices, there's a couple different types. There's wide style exit devices, and there's also narrow style exit devices. The other typical type of exit device is a crossbar type of exit device, and this is used usually in retrofit applications. This one has a much harder time meeting ADA requirements in most cases. When we refer to the style, we're referring to the vertical member of the door as the style. A wide style door is usually considered about 4.5 inches, and a narrow style would normally be about 2.25 inches. And just so you know, there are a wide variety of exit devices out there, and we're going to touch on these in a few moments. But what I want to say right now is that both panic and fire exit hardware can be used, panic and fire exit hardware are used as required by the IBC, which is the International Building Code, NFP 101, which is life safety, and NFP 80, which is the fire code. Exit devices are used based on the code. So as the code requirements, people use exit devices. People normally do not use exit devices where they are not required by code. Normally exit devices are more expensive than your other options. So they're used only as required. And according to NFP 101, any door in a means of egress with 50 persons or more shall have an exit device on the door. So in this first application we were looking at, obviously they had a mortise lock on the door already, so they don't need to have an exit device on here. So in this application, this stairwell door does not require an exit device by code, so we're going to eliminate exit device. We're going to eliminate exit device as one of the options. So our next two options would be either cylindrical locks or mortise locks. Let's take a look at some of the differences between cylindrical locks and mortise locks. First off, cylindrical locks, a grade 1 cylindrical lock has a 1/2 inch latch throw. A grade 1 mortise lock has a 3/4 inch latch throw with an optional 1 inch deadbolt for additional security. So it offers additional security with the extra deadbolt and the extra throw on it. When it comes to electrified locks, they are available as fail-safe or fail-secure, and both in cylindrical locks and mortise locks, you can usually order them as fail-safe or fail-secure. Another electrical option which you might consider is a request-to-exit switches. A request-to-exit switch monitors the inside lever handle, so if you know if someone rotates the inside lever handle. Both mortise locks and cylindrical locks are available with request-to-exit switches. One feature that mortise locks offer that most cylindrical locks do not is you can also have latch bolt and deadbolt monitoring with mortise locks. That's usually not an option when it comes to cylindrical locks. Also, with cylindrical locks, you have much fewer options, about 28 different options. With mortise locks, there's at least 60 different functions available out there. So you do have more options available. Cylindrical locks are less expensive. Mortise locks are a little bit more expensive or fairly expensive. Cylindrical locks are easier to install than mortise locks. Mortise locks are a little bit more time consuming. And one huge difference between the two is that with cylindrical locks, the levers are made out of zinc, while with mortise locks, the levers are either going to be made out of brass, bronze, or stainless steel. And when it comes to lever selection, you're quite limited when it comes to cylindrical locks. When it comes to mortise locks, you have a very, very large variety of options, which include rims, which include escutcheons and roses, and a huge variety of lever designs. So there are a wide variety of lever designs. We talked about solenoid operated trim and about fail-safe and fail-secure. For those who aren't familiar, fail-safe means the outside lever is unlocked when no power is applied. So if it's unlocked when no power is applied, the only way you can lock this door is by applying power to it. A fail-secure lock means the outside lever is locked when no power is applied to it. So if you think about it, the only way you can unlock this is by applying power to it, which would unlock it. That is the difference between fail-safe and fail-secure. In most applications, they are available with cylinder override, and the inside lever always allows egress. In a stairwell application, you would be using a fail-safe lock. The reason why you'd be using a fail-safe lock, as we just said, fail-safe lock means the outside lever is unlocked when no power is applied. So in the stairwell example, we want to allow free egress in and out of the stairwell when a fire occurs. So when someone pulls the fire alarm, this lock that's in a stairwell door will have to unlock. And the way they do that is they do it with a fail-safe lock. So normally they have electricity applied to the lock to keep the door in the locked position. And only when someone pulls the fire alarm will it become unlocked, allowing people to evacuate from the building. Also, when it comes to voltage with cylindrical locks, you do need to specify a voltage. In this industry, we normally use low voltage, so it's either 12 or 24 volts. And once again, you do have an option of getting a request to exit switch, and a request to exit switch can be incorporated into an alarm system or simply work in conjunction with a card reader or an electromagnet for security. Another interesting thing you'll find is on the front of the cylindrical lock fronts, it does tell you what the building codes are. So the UL is telling you that this is fire rated, or it's UL listed. F means that it's fire rated, and the W would stand for windstorm rated. Keep in mind, with mortise locks, you also have fail safe and fail secure, and it means the exact same thing. Fail safe means the outside lever is unlocked when no power is applied. Fail secure means the outside lever is locked when no power is applied. Okay. When it comes to voltage requirements, once again, within the hardware industry, we normally fall under low voltage, which means the hardware will operate on either 12 or 24 volts. So you'll either have to choose 12 or 24 volts, but some manufacturers will operate on 12 or 24 volts. As I mentioned, you have more security options with this mortise lock. So as I mentioned, you have deadbolt monitoring available, you have latchbolt monitoring available, and you also have the request exit switch. So in this application here, they decided to go with a mortise lock. Due to the high expected use and abuse of this type of door, they also used a fail-safe mortise lock. And this mortise lock will be connected to the fire alarm system, so it drops electricity when the fire alarm is activated. So upon activation of the fire alarm system, the electricity will be cut to the lock, allowing free egress. So that's what they decided to do there. Let's look at another one. So this is a pair of doors. Okay. They're using a low energy operator because they're self-opening and they are electrified. And there's the other side of the door. So different things to consider here is that we have a pair of doors. They have hands-free operation with an operator. These doors need to be self-closing and self-latching. There is no mullion on this, okay? And since there's no mullion, they ended up using a vertical rod exit device with electric latch retraction, okay? This way it doesn't require a mullion. And they went with less bottom rod because therefore there are no issues with ADA. So when it comes to exit devices, you need to consider a number of different things. Let's take a look first. First off, with exit devices, the actuating part of the exit device must extend at least half the door width, okay? And this will allow someone to exit. So the activation portion must be at least half the door width. And once again, there are different types of exit devices. So you have a deadbolt type rim exit devices, a rim exit device, mortise lock exit devices, concealed vertical rod. You also have surface vertical rod, and here's a surface vertical rod, less bottom rod. LBR stands for less bottom rod. So once again, there are different types of exit devices, as I just showed you. Let's examine each of the different types. So a mortise lock exit device is a type 3 exit device. This design is based on a regular mortise lock that we were talking about earlier. The nice thing about it is it offers a concealed latch bolt for security and appearance, so there is no visible latch bolt. It can be used in double door applications in conjunction with vertical rod exit devices that are either concealed or surface mounted. And because of the mortise lock itself, it allowed for easy electrification and security within the door. So it did offer those nice features. With a single door application, this will use a standard strike. But in a double door application, oftentimes you're going to use what they call an open back strike, and that's what we're showing you here. So another quick look. So this is the standard strike on the left-hand side for a normal application. On the right-hand side, we're showing you an open back strike. What this does, it allows both doors to be active without a door coordinator. Okay, so both doors are active. The door on the right-hand side here will retract the latch bolt, swing, and when it hits the bevel of the latch bolt, will close. And the one with the vertical rod is active also. And when it closes, because it's open in the back, it's allowed to close. Here's another look at the open back strike. Okay, next exit device conceal is going to be a type 8 exit device. This is a concealed vertical rod exit device. So some nice benefits with concealed vertical rod exit devices. It offers security of 2-point latching for greater security. Concealed vertical rods are concealed vertical rods are less vulnerable to vandalism because the rods are concealed. And they do have a nice appearance. Once again, the concealed vertical rods are out of sight and more visually appealing because they are concealed. These are available less bottom rod, which eliminates a tripping hazard in the floor. And it can be used in double door applications, and it doesn't require a mullion, which is a nice feature, so you have a full width opening. And lastly, they can also be used in double door applications with a mortise lock exit devices. A couple drawbacks when it comes to concealed vertical rods is that you have extensive door prep is required for concealed rods by the door manufacturer. So the door prep is going to be more expensive for this. Also, it's a little bit more difficult to install and often a little bit more difficult to adjust. It's not very well understood, and so oftentimes it is avoided, but they really do have a nice place out there in the market. Next is a type 1. A type 1 is a rim exit device, and by far this is the most popular. It's the simplest of all the exit device types. It's the least expensive, single door latching at the center of the door where it's needed, where people are pulling on the door. And the latch bolt is inaccessible from the outside of the door. So let's take a look. So here on the left-hand side, we're showing you an exit device, and with the location of the latch bolt, it's inaccessible. So take a look on the right-hand side. So here we're showing you the frame, we're showing you the latch bolt, the chassis head, and the door there, okay? And the outside is this portion right here with the running water. So when the latch bolt is inaccessible because there is no way you can slide something between the door and the frame, have it go up around the strike, and retract the latch bolt. So the latch bolt is not accessible from the outside of the door. Continuing on, it's the easiest of all the devices to install. One drawback is that it does require a mullion in double door applications. Keep in mind, with double door applications, you do have permanent mullions and you also have removable mullions. Okay? A removable keyed mullion will use a key that will allow you to drop the mullion out of the opening when you need to move large items in and out of the room. Okay, and lastly, this is a deadbolt type rim exit device. Once again, single point latching at the center of the door, latch bolt inaccessible from the outside of the door. It's easy to install since it's surface mounted. And it does require a mullion in double door applications. The advantage of this type of device is the deadbolt type latch bolt that it has. As you can see here, it's more of a deadbolt on the bottom side of this. And the nice advantage of this is when someone's pulling on the door, because of the flat surface there, there's less force trying to separate the door and the frame, and all the force is in this one direction, making it extremely strong. For example, this exit device here, which is called a secure bolt from Corbin Russman, can withstand 3,500 pounds of static load force. And for our last exit device, we're going to look at surface vertical rods, which is a type 2 exit device. Offers the security of 2-point latching. Double door applications do not require a mullion. Can be used in double door applications with a mortise lock exit device. And it is available less bottom rod, which eliminates potential tripping hazards in the floor. And it's easier to install than a concealed vertical rod. Okay. The exit devices are surface mounted to the face of the door, so it does make it a slightly easier installation. But be aware that bottom rods are not allowed according to ABC, the American Disabilities Act or the International Building Code. And field modification of devices will void the warranty. One thing to know, though, is for fire-rated surface vertical rods and concealed vertical rods with less bottom rod. So if you have a vertical rods, less bottom rod, they will normally require thermal pins. These are thermal pins. These are mounted at the lower portion of the door because the door only has top point latching. What this does, you have a spring-loaded steel pin, and when the temperature gets high enough, it releases the spring-loaded pin to engage the other door to keep the bottom of the door closed during a fire test. Okay, so in this application here, you need to consider different options in terms of function. This first door here, because there's nothing on the outside of the door, this is an exit-only function, and this is an ANSI 01 function for an exit device. There is nothing on the outside of the door to pull it open. This type of exit device can be used on panic and fire-rated doors. The inside will always allow free egress. It can be used in double door applications, or it can be used on an inactive leaf of a pair of doors, because you don't always need to have 2 cylinders on a pair of doors, so you can make this with the inactive leaf. And back doors of storerooms and businesses. This way people can't get in without having access to the inside. And another area you can use these is the back exterior doors of schools to limit egress, because if there's no way of pulling the door open, people can't get in. The next function number is an ANSI 02 function. An ANSI 02 function means there's something on the outside of the door to pull it open. That's all it means. There is no means of gaining egress or gaining entrance from the outside if the rail is not dogged down. So this is frequently used in storefront applications with vertical rod devices. So they'll dog down the rails during the day, so people just have to pull open the door. This avoids the person having to rotate the lever handle every time someone wants to get in. Just allows them to pull the doors. It makes both doors active, and it works out very well in this application. So this is a dummy function. It just allows the door to be pulled open. Next is an 03 function. With this one here, this is a night latch function. This is used in storerooms, classrooms, and exterior doors. With this one here, the key retracts the latch bolt. And that is it. So the outside lever is always locked, and the key retracts the latch bolt. This is an 03 function. Next function is what we call a store or a classroom function. This is an ANSI 08 function, and this one locks and unlocks the outside lever handle. So this is frequently used in storefronts, of course, and classrooms and gym doors. So any doors you want to be able to lock and unlock, you can use an 08 function. And of course, as if with all these functions, they can all be used on both fire-rated and non-fire-rated door. It's the exit device that's the difference, not the trim. And one more function we want to go over is, this is called an ANSI 09 function. The key on the outside unlocks lever. The lever is used to retract the latch bolt. The lever is locked when the key is removed. So this is actually going to be used in any application where you would use a night latch function with vertical rods. Keep in mind, with the night latch function, the key retracts the latch bolt. You don't want to be lifting up 10-foot rods with a key. So that's why they came out with this 09 function. This 09 function, the key unlocks the lever retracts the latch bolt, but once you pull out the key, it's locked again, so it's a storeroom function. Another function is a classroom intruder function. With this one here, you can either have a key or a cylinder on the inside of the door to lock or unlock the outside lever handle. This is frequently used in college lecture halls, large classrooms. Another function would be a passage function. A passage function always allows free egress and ingress. So these doors are never locked. These doors are used on fire-rated doors without any problems, interior doors normally, and for double egress applications. And this is called a passage function. Okay, a couple other terms you need to know is dogging. Dogging means to hold the latch bolt in the retracted position, okay, as you see there on the left-hand side. This is most commonly done with either a hex key or cylinder dogging is the most common way to dog down a latch bolt. Okay, mechanical latching is not available on fire-rated hardware. Okay, so keep in mind if you need to dog down an exit device, it has to be done electronically. Okay, and it can be done electronically. It can be done electronically so the exit device is hooked up to the fire alarm system. Okay. We just have a couple more slides. I know we're running a little late. I just want to touch on electric dogging. Electric dogging, the electric feature is used to retain the latches in the dogged position and hold the actuation bar in the depressed position. Actuation is accomplished by energizing the bar and pushing in the bar. So in this exit bar, there's a magnet in there that grabs hold of the bar. But once the electricity is released, it allows it to unlock automatically, securing the opening. This can be used on a fire-rated door. This can be used on a fire-rated door as long as it's hooked up to the fire alarm system. And it says there, removal or interruption of power will cause the actuation bar to undog and the latch bolt to re-engage the strike, securing the opening. Okay, so fire-rated exit devices with electric dogging release upon activation of the fire alarm. Okay. What I'm showing you here, this is electric latch retraction. This allows you to remotely dog an exit device. Okay, here we're showing it as an entrance where a push button at a receptionist desk allows it to be retracted. Electric latch retraction can also be used with an access control system. So this could be an employee's entrance. Employees would present their ID, their credential, and it allows them to pull open the door to gain access in the morning. That would be another use for it. So electric latch retraction is a means of retracting the latch bolts from a remote location. This can either be done continuously or intermediately. And once again, removal or interruption of the power will cause the latches to will cause the rail to undog and the latches to re-engage the strike. Once again, fire-rated exit devices with electric latch retraction must be hooked up to the fire alarm system so they automatically undog when a fire alarm is pulled. In most cases, this has either been accomplished by a motor or a solenoid. The advantages of a motor is that they're quieters and they can use standard power supplies. The advantages of a solenoid is they're slightly faster, but they are considerably louder and they do require a special controller. And we're going to touch on one last electrified product and then we're going to stop. Delayed egress devices. Where delayed egress devices are used, they're used in Alzheimer's wards. They're used in maternity wards. They're used at the airports to prevent people from going out on the tarmac. And what a delayed egress device does is it prevents someone from exiting the door for 15 seconds. After 15 seconds, the exit device will release and allow free egress. Delay can be prevented up to 30 seconds if you have the permission of the AHJ, which is the authority having jurisdiction. And one last thing, BOCA. BOCA, delayed egress devices, is a special type of device. It's a certain code. And when the delayed egress device is used with a door position switch, it allows the delayed egress device to automatically rearm itself. Okay, this brings us to the end of our presentation. I would like to thank everyone for attending, and we're going to take a look at see what questions we have here. The first question is, mullions are needed for rim exit devices, correct? Yes, on a pair of doors, you will need a mullion for a rim exit device, absolutely, because you need some place for the latch bolt to engage, and since it's engaging at the center of the door, it needs something to engage into. So you always need mullions when you have a pair of rim exit devices. Let's see. At this point, it doesn't appear we have any more questions. I would like to thank everyone for attending this webinar. I hope you found it educational and enjoyable. Thank you very much, and keep in mind, ANSI Abloy Academy offers many webinars multiple times a day. Join us for our webinars. Thank you and have a great day. And stay healthy.